Of all things to lose, why a damned, lovesick bastard. Armed with a tragic script, transmigrated heroine Ning Ning, to change her miserable ending, decides to raise the male lead to be evil. Powerful, and entirely dependent on her. Then let's see how her tragic fate plays out. The snake-waisted girl clutched the dragon egg, intending to escape the Xianjian sex illusionary realm. With a pure yin constitution, she needed the pure yang energy of this little cutie. After gently nibbling him twice, she found the exit with the egg in her arms. Speak of the Davylit actually opened. The mechanism before her seemed deactivated. She reached out, feeling the fresh air, smelling freedom, until the scent of sulfur revealed the phantom image of Zhuan Yue beneath her. Fate was playing a cruel joke. Of the 8 barrier gates, only one led to safety. So, she'd chosen the wrong one. Fine. Let that heartless dragon god die with me. Half a month ago, he transmigrated to a mining camp. The original owner of his body, Teng Shi, a snake demon, rebelled against the heavens and attacked the 9th heaven. He and the still young dragon god fought for 200 rounds, their battle reaching the Machian gate. Teng Shi, I'm dead. This gate leads to a funeral pyre. How thoughtful, even the fireworks are ready. I just got here and am already dying. Strange, why haven't I fallen? Little dragon, how are you floating? Are you a pig? So heavy. I've used all my strength. I can't believe it. This adorable little guy actually wants to eat my body and take my gallbladder. You're awake. Can you get me something to eat? Those eyes could melt anyone's heart. Cute, but you can't fool me. Where's your owner, little man? Piggy, I don't care. Since you woke me, you're responsible for me. I've chosen you. Do I know you? What kind of logic is that? I'm not a pig. My name is Ning Ning, her little brain word. You're you. Then who am I? Why can't I remember anything? Has lost his memory. Why isn't this going according to plan? Forget the past. Escaping is paramount. I don't want my soul devoured by you. Miss, why are you running? With my short legs, I can barely keep up. She fell flat on her face. I saved you in the arsenal just now. Aren't you going to comfort me? Your injury was clearly caused by my fall. Forget it, you're a child. I'll take you out of here first. Chaos is the best place to lose pursuers. Watching a play with the little dragon, she heard the story of repaying a life debt with marriage. The naive dragon asked, a life debt should be repaid with marriage. Something like that. Attracted by the story, the little dragon pondered, then confidently declared, I can't lift my hand anymore. You're going to let me die. So. You're going to die alone. I can't be bothered to care. Suddenly, nosy onlookers gathered. What happened? Who bullied this cutie? Emboldened, the little dragon pointed at Ning Ning. It's her. She won't feed me. She's not even close to me. She said she's my wife. You saved me, so you're my wife. You said whoever saves someone should marry them. You're my wife, a modern woman losing an argument to a child. How embarrassing, Wuluo's spies reported. Pursuers are coming. Is she shy? Don't worry, Grandpa will take you home. Don't bully your husband again. Who's bullying whom? At nightfall, Gui Lingjing tossed and turned, unable to sleep. He deliberately whined, it's too hard here. It's not as soft and comfortable as you. Go sleep somewhere else. No. You taught me adults shouldn't go back on their words. Stroking the sleeping dragon, she thought, he is a divine dragon, a gift from heaven and earth. When you grow up and understand true feelings, don't regret this. A cute little face nuzzled against her. What are true feelings? Taking care of me, eating, sleeping, bathing, always being together, isn't that love? Little brat, do you even know what makes me happy? She tapped his forehead. You little rascal. You don't need anyone to look after you. After I buy you medicine, we're parting ways. Gui Lingjing feigned weakness. I'm dizzy. Don't get mad at me. Are you abandoning me again? Then he fainted dramatically. Trouble. The Xianjian sect is here. Little one, are you all right? He overdid it, thought Ning Ning, then realized it was genuine. I'm fine. It's been like this since I was born. You need to get better. When Ning Ning mistakenly believed the mark on him was from the original Teng Shi. That's why they were quickly found. Gui Lingjing panicked. His wife was being taken away. When Ning Ning was touched by the little guy's willingness to be used as a hostage. When Ning Ning used Teng Shi's body, unexpectedly entering a void realm to fight. Gui Lingjing wasn't so lucky. He not only suffered backlash, but was also possessed by a parasitic entity. He fainted. Look at this little monster's core. It looks quite good. Who brought him? I'll eat him. Stinky brat. When Ning Ning unleashed a barrage of attacks, repeatedly yelling, "No way." Everyone drew their swords, intending to kill Wen Ning Ning, but she repelled them. Untranslatable gibberish. How did this little demon suddenly become so powerful? Could the void realm have amplified her demonic energy? Humiliated, he decided to kill everyone present to save face. The sick little dragon was taken by Shifu to escape the Xianjian Miqian sect. Gui Lingjing, disguised as Mai Meng, arrived, beginning their melodramatic double act. I don't want to die. I'm a young master, abandoned by both parents. Are you going to abandon me too? When Ning Ning noticed his labored breathing, realizing it wasn't an act, he continued with his pitiful expression. The monster wants me as his male consort. He's ugly, but I want to live. Sympathetic gazes fell on the seemingly pitiful child. When Ning Ning felt utterly helpless, fed up, she snapped, "Little brat, are you done with your nonsense?" I seized the opportunity to escape unnoticed. When Ning Ning wanted to end it quickly, but couldn't bring herself to harm the suffering child. This kid is too pitiful. He's just a child craving love. Open wide, I'll give you some candy. It won't be so bitter. The medicine Wen Ning Ning bought for the little dragon only provided temporary relief. This child wouldn't be easy to raise. He had a congenital weakness. You can't leave me this time. I saved you twice. Wen Ning Ning hadn't planned to abandon him, but she teased, "You saved me willingly. Now you want a reward." A little embarrassed, he offered reasons. Husband won't do, wife won't do, how about you be my master? Wen Ning Ning thought, what can I teach someone so much stronger than me? Eating, drinking, gambling, and scamming. I'll teach you how to be a useless bum. If he loses his cultivation, my life will be spared. This seemed unreliable. Let's reconsider. No need. It's settled. Follow me. I'll teach you well. The little dragon, Gui Lingjing, used a spell to change his appearance. This is his adult form. No wonder the original Teng Shi fell for him. Master is taking you to see the world. I'll show you what extreme fun is. What's so interesting about flashy things? Isn't watching horses more exciting? Her master excitedly adjusted his hair. Just wait and see. Did you steal his money? No, I'm helping him. He's not young anymore. It's better to spend it than be tricked by women. Only her master could say this so righteously. His cute appearance charmed everyone in the room. Master proudly showed him off. Master drank cup after cup, his face flushed. Annoyed, he kicked Gui Lingjing. This kid is a natural flirt. I'm jealous. I'm getting angrier. I'm not drinking anymore. Get out. He suddenly accused Gui Lingjing. Your nose is too big. The girls all like it. Learn from me. Furious, he grabbed Wen Ning Ning. This place is boring. Let's go. Why are we leaving? The Xianjian Miqian sect was about to attack. Why stop them? Isn't this what we wanted? Do whatever. I'm going for a walk. I'll go with you. I might throw up on you. There are lots of girls waiting for you. Go have fun. Their target began to wander around. Yu Manchun, you dare break the rules. I won't spare you. Yu Manchun's target was indeed a beauty. What role was she playing here? Gui Lingjing was curious. Master, what are you looking at? Wen Ning Ning looked guilty. Why are you here? Don't corrupt my disciple. She shielded Gui Lingjing's chest. Who's there? Peeping on me. You're trapped. I'll destroy you. Wen Ning Ning shielded her master, but her power was limited. Her power faded, and she reverted to her dragon form. Such strong demonic energy at such a young age. Yu Heng, tied to a tree, was stunned. Innate chi protection. A onsen a century talent. What's your name? Hands off my disciple. He doesn't need your concern. The fox demon threatened Wen Ning Ning. Little demon, you're wasting his talent. Bring him to me. Don't hurt my master. I'll destroy you. You're a dragon. From which sea, Gui Lingjing couldn't reveal he was the dragon god. But the fox demon cared only about his age. What's so good about your master? He's foolish, poor, and weak, only his mouth is strong. But he's my master. The fox demon pinched his cheek. Give me your dragon core, and I'll spare you. He opened his shirt. I haven't cultivated my dragon core yet. Wait a few years. Wherever Gui Lingjing went, someone coveted his dragon core. The fox demon, his prey escaped, demanded Gui Lingjing offer his master instead. Never. Let go of my master. I'll fight you to the death. But his master said, remember your illness. Don't use your power. Gui Lingjing relented. I'll give you my dragon core. Empty words are useless. The fox demon threw him a contract. Release us if I sign. He signed, knowing it was a trap. The fox demon got the contract. Now, release my spiritual pet. He clutched his chest. Do you know how important a dragon core is? Why not a beauty instead? Master, are you sure about this? Ning Ning was furious. Just wait until I'm stronger. Ning Ning decided to deal with Yu Heng first. Yu Heng would become a powerful Taoist. He was the one who would kill Ning Ning in the original timeline. Stay out of this. We must work together, or we'll be skinned alive. Ning Ning attacked the Taoist, who dodged. Who's there? Master worries about your injury. It's my benefactor. He bowed politely. Ning Ning watched him leave, her desire for revenge growing. I'll poison him with my snake venom. Gui Lingjing drank the special soup, keeping his secret safe. Another crisis arose. The ghost city lord appeared. Yi Lin, the Taoist, held Jin Heng, defying the heavenly laws. Chen Jujun's cheerful face darkened. How dare you touch my woman? The poison acted faster than expected. The Taoist stumbled. Aren't you engaged to the snake demon lord? Why are you still flirting around? Engaged? That seemingly refined fiancé was him. Their encounter last night was just a one-night stand. He probably forgot about the engagement. A sense of familiarity made him stare at Ning Ning. Did he recognize her? He caressed her waist, pulling her close. He whispered, I feel like I've met you somewhere before. Ning Ning avoided her gaze. Such a small Lu Jiaodan is hardly worthy of City Lord Yes favor. The yin energy within the miasma reacted with Wen Ling's pure yang constitution. Xiao Tua painfully pleaded, let go of my Shifu. He asked, who are you? Caught off guard, Wen Ling stumbled into his chest. Yi Li, pleased with himself after the night's events, wiped the wine from his lips. Interesting. I've got my eye on you. Tong Shi, already betrothed, found himself once again being watched by his future husband. Unwilling to be captured by Yi Li, he fled to Snake Demon Mountain with Xiao Tua. Had only just arrived at Snake Demon Mountain. What kind of situation was this? Now, with his Yao Dan sealed, it was the perfect opportunity to keep a low profile. He gently placed the approaching Xiao Tong Dan down, a tactic that proved effective. His Yao Jun body wouldn't return. They arrived at another dwelling on the mountain, Zunzi Luo Yang. In the following days, he would rely on the full moon's Luo Yang fire, and his dragon's breath. Tan Hui recognized the crisis in Yi Li's Yao Dan. Your recklessness has earned you a reputation as a flirt. You're destined to repeat Zhu Sha's fate. Teng Shi was still upset, and now even Xiao Yao didn't respect him. He saw the weakness in each opponent. How dare they challenge his dominance? His opponents were too slow to catch him with his dual-wielding technique. He forcefully pushed aside Yao Dan, embedding a Zhonggo. He Zhong greeted Xiao Lin Yang warmly. The familiar voice made him smile. Simultaneously, Tong Sai restrained the airborne Tang Hui until it was immobilized. Teng Shi forcefully broke through Yao Dan, but suffered severe injuries in the process. Wen Ning watched his Shifu risk his life to protect him. He rushed forward. Shifu. Are you all right? I'll get you out of Shenmo Mountain. Heng Shen painfully told him, the most dangerous place is also the safest. I was recuperating in the mountains, daydreaming and hoping, until Xiao Tua grew up until all my efforts to stop her ascension were in vain. She actually made it. Vaulting upright, he cried, Great Sea God, spare me. I didn't do it on purpose. Qing Meng, Xiao Tua attentively cared for him. Shifu, what kind of god are you talking about? Lao Tuoa, seeing his Shifu's condition, seriously asked, is there any way to permanently solve the Lu Jiao Dan issue? You need the Lu Jiao Dan itself. Xiao Tua was determined, they'll get it for Shifu, no matter the cost. His heart felt sweet, though a bit sour. He found Xiao Tua's concern endearing. Wait until I'm better, and we'll go together. Wherever there's danger, there's Wen Ning. Having just escaped Qianling Lun, she was ambushed by two small demons seeking her precious herbs. She might be down on her luck, but she wouldn't be bullied by small fry. With a wave of her hand, the careless Xiao Yao were knocked to the ground. You thought you could just take them. You didn't even ask. Before Wen Ning could react, she was attacked from behind. The Xiao Yao were instantly reduced to their original forms by a lightning strike. Ghost City Lord Yi Li, arriving just in time, declared, "How dare you attack my subordinate?" He then suspected Tang Shi's identity. Tang Shi claimed he was testing him. As for the herbs, he only needed to rest for a year. Yi Li, admiring his beauty, lamented that his foolish wife had gone to the 9 heavens and was now missing. Wen Ling, facing this shameless face, suppressed her anger and forced a smile. My fiancé is in trouble, and you're here flirting. She had to put on a brave face and try to please him. Playing the innocent, she complained, City Lord, this isn't an appropriate place. Her manipulation was masterful. Not only did she get Yi Li to return to Ghost City, she also kept her herbs. Pang Cha Yangguan's little apprentice, returning after selling herbs, almost fainted when he saw what his Shifu was doing. Tong Shi blamed his poor memory for their failing herb business. His clever little apprentice vowed to kill the demons, and the Ghost City Lord who harmed his Shifu. Wen Ning, already in enough trouble, shouted at her reckless apprentice, "Are you trying to rebel?" Wen Ning only needed to wait for his Yao Dan to recover so they could leave. Wen Ling, seeing his Shifu's condition, decided to keep the Xian Men matter a secret for now. Though acting tough, Wen Ning felt sorry for Xiao Tua, who had risked himself for others. Ling agreed with Xiao Tua's suggestion, even if it meant enduring hardship. Wen Ning despaired at Xiao Tua's lack of progress. He seemed to only excel at having fun. The innocent Xiao Tua explained, "I do good deeds to bring Shifu good luck." Wen Ning, touched, warned Xiao Tua never to do that again. Secretly, Xiao Tua was delighted. The peace on Snake Demon Mountain was shattered when Ghost City Lord Yi Li returned. Wen Ning was determined to make Yi Li regret this. She wouldn't be fooled by sweet words. Tong Shi was always the protector. A giant wave erupted, catching Yi Li off guard. The small beauty whimpered, "I was lonely at home and got sick." Yi Li, approaching the beauty, was met with a horrifying sight. Wen Ning, disguised, revealed her true, monstrous form. Yi Li fled in terror. Wen Ning wouldn't let him escape so easily. With a sprinkle of pollen, she pursued him. Thanks to his disguise, Wen Ning had driven away Yi Li. After resting, they finally had some peace. Xiao Tua excitedly told his Shifu had found a shop. Snake Demon Mountain, rich in spiritual energy, was the perfect place to refine medicine for Xiao Tua. Wen Ning agreed to go down the mountain once Xiao Tua was healed. She told the dirty Xiao Tua to go bathe. Xiao Nilong had outgrown his tub, but as long as his Shifu was there, he was happy. He playfully splashed water, gazing at his Shifu. He wished his Ning Ning Shifu would stay with him forever. He Zhong knocked urgently. "That ghost is back." Wen Ling's bath was interrupted. Wen Ning stared at the pearl Yi Li had sent. She wondered how she'd charmed this old demon. Xiao Tua, more excited than his Shifu, worried about his yin energy triggering his curse. Wen Ling asked, "Do you like Yi Li?" She realized Xiao Tua was worried about her. "Im Tong Shi, not an idiot. My Yao Dan is sealed, why would I like him?" Xiao Tua asked who his Shifu liked. Wen Ling just wanted to survive. Lao Tuo felt responsible for his Shifu's suffering and vowed to defeat Yi Li. Wen Ling left a letter and headed to Qianling Men for the Lu Jiao Dan. The two troublesome demons returned. The demons caused big trouble for Xiao Baihua. "Don't worry, He Zhong. It's just some herbs." The Xiao Yao planned to use Shimeng Yao Jun to get their revenge. Tong Shi knew of Shimeng Yao Jun's terrifying abilities. He feared his secrets would be revealed. Teng Shi decided to flee. Things didn't go as planned. Teng Shi panicked and crashed, scaring Xiao Fei Zhong. He used his chaos technique. He planned to escape once Xiao He was safe. He was injured before he could transform. Was he going to be defeated by a Wenming Xiao Yao? A Hun Hun bird swallowed the demonic energy. Yi Li appeared, holding Wen Ling in a princess carry. Wen Ling missed her Shifu. Wen Ling's talent attracted many elders. Wen Ling only acknowledged Tong Shi as his Shifu. Zhong Lao informed Wen Ling about Bai Guan's upcoming 10-day seclusion. He planned to visit his Shifu. Wen Ling sought the Lu Jiao Dan, hoping to improve his cultivation. Yi Li took Teng Shi back to Ghost City and cared for him, worried about him using his powers. Tong Shi wondered why Yi Li kept saving him. Tong Shi thanked Yi Li, but was unwilling to be a subordinate. Yi Li wouldn't let him go. Tong Shi was forced to use his trump card. Snake demons shed their skin a few months each year. Embarrassed, he showed Yi Li his shedding hands. Yi Li, amused, felt in control. Yi Li thought the snake demon was playing hard to get. Wen Ning was pleased that his little trick had worked like a charm. Not only did Yi Li not make him stand all night, but he also got to stay for free. He wasn't worried about offending the domain lord at all. 10 days passed in the blink of an eye, equivalent to 10 years in the human realm, where Xiao Tu'er resided. This time, Xiao Tu'er did not receive the joyful reunion with his master, Quniao Da Hui Shifu, that he had hoped for. During those 10 years in the human realm, Wen Ning yearned for his spiritual master to stay by his side. But he hadn't yet fulfilled his vow to his master. Unable to return and see his master, Wen Ning harbored a secret worry, telling himself perhaps his master was busy with other Xian men disciples' matters. He only wished his master could someday see his heart. For a moment, Xiao Tu'er was filled with longing for his master, yet received no comforting response, leaving him feeling somewhat lost. Wang Linyang's momentary peace was interrupted by the playful young master of the Machen sect, Cao Weiwu. Cao Weiwu teased that genius Tang Tang is as pure and refined as jade every day, a rare creature in the southern city, yet he is smitten with Lin Yang. This playful jab disrupted Wen Ning's peaceful thoughts and stirred his heart. He then surreptitiously took out the goodies he wanted to share with his good brother, putting on a brave face. Wen Ning, the carefree young master who had no interest in cultivation, only knew how to enjoy life to the fullest. But today, Wen Ning finally saw the truth. Their young master was actually carrying. Teng Shi, whose injured foot had healed, felt an overwhelming urge to return to the place he longed for. After 6 months, the medicinal herbs he had painstakingly cultivated in the small courtyard in New Mississippi were overgrown with weeds. Wen Ning, always carefree, wandered about. He disliked the feeling of being watched, so he allowed Wei Hua, who had been following him, to roam freely. Back home after a long absence, Wen Ning was curious about Xiao Feizhong's secret stash. He initially thought the jar contained some ancient treasure, but to his surprise, it was filled with letters Xiao Tu'er had written to him over the past 6 months. Xiao Tu'er had detailed his longing for him during their separation. He had kept them all. That silly boy, when Ning realized, he had only taken him away from the mines out of necessity. The long-awaited reunion stirred up complex emotions in Wen Ning's heart. Tears welled up in his eyes, making him feel strangely alive. Amidst this outpouring of emotion, a sensitive number popped into his mind. Regardless of how closely things followed the previous life's trajectory, considering the time difference during his century-long confinement by Yi Li, Wen Ning realized he was this year, meaning Yi Li would kill him next year. All his efforts were aimed at survival. But in the letters, he discovered Xiao Tu'er had mistakenly absorbed the demonic energy of the Qianling clan to help him break the seal placed upon him. The distressed Wen Ning, learning everything, felt a pang of guilt. His stone dragon spirit was severely damaged and needed time to recover. Now, if Xiao Tu'er obediently stayed in the human realm, it would be for the best. Otherwise, he wouldn't hesitate to take action. Xiao Heizhong's sudden appearance interrupted Wen Ning's troubled thoughts. The obedient Xiao Heizhong confessed to secretly hiding the letter Lin Yang Gij had written to Ning Ning Shifu. He was simply fascinated by Lin Yang Gij's handwriting. Wen Ning, worried about Xiao Tu'er's current predicament, was relieved to learn that Xiao Feizhong was still relatively honest. Wen Ning, raised in Qianling sect, hadn't received any news from his master, causing him anxiety. Xiao Hei's sudden, frantic barrage of questions surprised him. After Xiao Hei finished his usual routine, he noticed Wen Ning's evasive and cautious tone, always addressing him formally. These subtle actions revealed to Wen Ning that his beloved master had returned but left again. The joy he felt was immediately replaced by heartache. Xiao Hei wanted to give his brother something. But Wen Ning's sorrowful expression made him change his mind, quickly saying, Ning Ning Shifu just arrived and left again. The joy in Wen Ning's heart was once again replaced by anxiety. He desperately wanted to see his master immediately, but he seemed to have forgotten he was currently on a mission. What is more precious than unwavering love in this world? He asks this question, but he himself is about to lose it. The captive Teng Shi was furious with Yi Li for leaving the domain without permission. Yi Li coldly asked him if he wanted to be locked up forever. Men are strange creatures. The more they are pushed away, the tighter they want to hold on. He wanted Teng Shi to stop his sullen behavior. Perhaps it was Teng Shi's feigned indifference that sparked a sense of responsibility in Yi Li. Carelessly, Yi Li tore off the binding spell on Teng Shi's arm. Yi Li wouldn't let him escape, so he held him tightly, showering him with both harsh words and affection. This contradictory behavior made Teng Shi resentful. But he needed to provoke Yi Li further. Teng Shi decided to escalate the situation by deliberately provoking Yi Li. As long as the domain lord was pleased, he would do anything. Teng Shi deliberately angered the domain lord. He knew Yi Li well. Only by making him angry and locking him up would he have a chance to escape. Once confined, Teng Shi remained quiet and still, even instructing his siblings not to visit. He wanted to be alone. Waiting for the opportune moment, Teng Shi began to plan his escape. His efforts over the past 6 months hadn't been in vain. He had a genuine snakeskin disguise. Soon, a grass figure replaced Teng Shi, sleeping soundly in his place. With the snakeskin and the decoy, he could use his exceptional stealth skills to find his little darling. Donning the snakeskin, Teng Shi concealed his features, applied makeup, and donned a wig. He transformed into a young maiden and infiltrated the Qianling sect. However, his disguise was quickly exposed. Fortunately, Wen Moi appeared just in time to rescue him. Wen Moi hadn't expected their reunion to be so dramatic. Seeing the familiar mole on Xiaobo's face, he felt a pang of longing. "This young lady looks a lot like someone I know," he said, using the most cliched opening line, leaving Wen Moi's mind blank. The stinging pain from the prick of a needle brought Wen Ning back to reality. He discovered Ming Qian's presence. So this familiar feeling was the surprise Xiao Feizhong had mentioned. Wen Ning didn't expose him, wanting to spend some quality time with him and have a good chat. Xiao Tuo would believe anything his master said. He simply adored him. Wen Ning finally received a letter from his master, and then his master himself. His master instructed him to draw 70 pictures, but Wen Ning only recognized Wen Ming as his true master. He missed his master dearly and wondered if he should really follow these instructions. Happiness came too suddenly. Wen Ning's long-suppressed longing was ignited by his master's unexpected arrival. Overjoyed, he woke up early with a light heart, only to be caught and imprisoned by a disguised Wen Ning again. Wen Ning's heart pounded with excitement as he saw his disguised master suddenly appear. Xiao Tuo's anxious heart wondered if his master had come to the Xianmen sect for official business. Not only did his master arrive uninvited, but he also presumptuously addressed Xiao Tuo as Zero. Yang Shixiang. As a gesture of gratitude, Ali specially prepared some snacks. Wen Ning knew exactly what was going on. He also wanted to see what tricks his master had up his sleeve. The innocent Xiao Tuo enjoyed the delicious snacks that master had meticulously prepared. Unaware of the added ingredients, "Master, please accept my respects," Xiao Tuo said, bowing deeply, leaving Wen Ning bewildered. Wen Ning's intentions were crystal clear. Disguised as Ali, he wanted to silence Xiao Tuo before he achieved his full potential. Ali wanted to take advantage of him simply because he was master's original disciple, Wen Ning. Wen Ning initially tolerated this behavior, but his male pride wouldn't allow it. This time, it was master who made the first move. The sudden turn of events caught Wen Ning off guard. "Master Ali," he stammered, "why am I feeling more energized after eating these snacks?" Wen Ning's plan backfired spectacularly. He sheepishly explained to Wen Ning that he just wanted to test his cultivation level, claiming that Master Ali wouldn't dare harm him. Mortified, Wen Ning quickly turned and fled, desperate to find a hole to hide in. 10 days prior, Wen Ning had been confined by the Xianmen sect for his unruly behavior. The lack of news from his master only deepened his worry. He bumped into a familiar figure. The dazzling smile from those familiar eyes made his heart skip a beat. "You've impressed, master," the figure said. Wen Ning simply thought his master was testing him again. Xiao Tuo felt his master was going too far this time. One Ali wasn't enough. Now he had to create this flamboyant persona. He was getting angry. Could he handle a princess? Since master was so playful, he would become a princess today. She was the most outrageous master in history, never giving Xiao Tuo a moment's peace. From the moment he met her, she constantly shattered his perception of a respectful master-disciple relationship. Wen Ning couldn't comprehend his master's eccentric behavior. Instead of letting his master continue her antics, he decided to get straight to the point. Heaven didn't grant Wen Ning's wish. Whether he liked it or not, Xiao Tuo fulfilled his master's repeated requests. In the ensuing chaos, Wen Ning, poisoned by Xiao Tuo's sudden attack, forgot to use his escape technique and found himself in a compromising position once again. Wen Ning wondered if his master had ever been drunk. He doubted it. Lost in thought, Wen Ning decided to approach his master and see what she would do this time. Wen Ning soon realized his master was no exception. However, after dropping her playful facade, she became unusually calm. After a moment of tranquility, the unpredictable master suddenly grabbed him. Before Wen Ning could react, he was dragged away by his master, who was fleeing with him on her back. In his past life, he had died at her hands. This time, he wouldn't let her off so easily. He preferred the sincere and straightforward version of his master to the playful one from earlier. If defying his master was considered a mistake, then he would simply submit to her will. They said a woman acting coquettishly was hard to resist. Xiao Tuo felt powerless. He didn't know why his master had sought him out like this. Xiao Tuo was told to obey his master and not question her intentions. If Xiao Tuo refused to be disciplined, she had ways to make even the ancient gods of the 9 heavens abandon him. To survive, Wen Ning repeatedly schemed against Xiao Tuo's innocence. He couldn't understand why his master went to such lengths to prevent him from achieving his full potential. But the next moment, the double he had prepared returned, his face covered in red silk. Wen Ning was baffled by his deceitful master's bizarre persistence. She was so focused on preventing him from achieving his full potential that she completely disregarded Xiao Tuo's normal physiological needs as a man. Exhausted, he gave up. But his master's continued insistence only disappointed him further. She still didn't understand. He was Wen Ning, the cultivation master, who wanted to guide Xiao Tuo on his path to immortality. However, he was becoming increasingly wary of his unreliable master. After a night of Wen Ning's antics, a drowsy Xiao Tuo opened his eyes from the soft embrace of his pillow. The unsuspecting Xiao Tuo was startled to find someone sleeping next to him. On the other side, the brazen Xiao Tuo playfully teased his master, who seemed to have forgotten everything. After a moment, he remembered his current identity wasn't Wen Ning, but Qing Niao. However, he couldn't recall anything about last night except that he had spent it with Xiao Tuo. But he seemed to sense something different in Xiao Tuo's innocent eyes. A wave of dizziness washed over Wen Ning. He thought he had successfully tricked Xiao Tuo. Another sudden knock at the door startled Wen Ning. He didn't know where to hide. The person outside had orchestrated this situation, intending to expose Wen Ning, the disgrace of the sect. Unable to stay, Wen Ning saw his master's anxiety and tried to blend into the background. Hoping no one would notice him, Wen Ning had to leave immediately. He wasn't afraid of his master's disapproval, but he couldn't forget the expression on her face last night. Back at the Xianmen sect, Wen Ning was assigned to clean the toilets. But someone assigned to such a menial task wouldn't be suffering from such severe physical ailments. Faced with the elder's questioning, he feigned illness, unable to even get out of bed, contrary to Bai Jingsong's report of his carefree demeanor. He could deceive the ignorant elders, but not the astute elder Yi. His sudden illness was due to his pent-up desires, which had not been addressed. The medicine he took could only alleviate the symptoms. Temporarily. It wouldn't solve the underlying problem. After Xiao Huaqing overheard these rumors, she began to harbor feelings for her brother. Why reveal this now? Cao Weiwu, disguised as master, barged in and dragged Huaqing out, preventing her from intervening. Annoyed, Huaqing, before she could do anything, was forcibly removed by this ugly medicine barrel. Under a flimsy pretext, Xiao Tuo's sudden weakness made him curious. He was fine last night, so why was he so frail today? Wen Ning had his own agenda. He believed Xiao Tuo had broken the 9-colored barrier to regain his power. Once he cured him, they could go their separate ways. His body ached, and he wanted to ask Wen Ning for help, but he couldn't bring himself to speak. Earlier, he had heard Wen Ning's faint voice, telling him to focus on making money. He felt lost and confused. Now, he was a helpless disciple, reliant on others. Thinking about this, Wen Ning doubted Xiao Tuo would even remember him as his master, let alone seek his help. Xiao Tuo suspected his master's repeated strange behavior, but believed he had concealed his feelings well. However, each time, it was Xiao Tuo who suffered. This time, his master, disguised as a medicine barrel, caught him in an intimate moment with Huaqing. He expected a lecture about treating his fiancée better. But Xiao Tuo quickly denied any romantic involvement. He explained that he had grown up with Huaqing and their relationship was purely platonic, nothing more. Wen Ning's mind raced. He then assumed Lin Yang Shixiang was in love with Chu Niang Al. Wen Ning dismissed this idea. Wasn't that the legendary Qing Long, or was he simply someone who fell in love easily? Wen Ning seemed to know everything, pushing Xiao Tuo to the point of exasperation. What started as a friendly chat almost ended with Wen Ning being infuriated by his master. Xiao Tuer's obvious discomfort finally made his oblivious master realize he was still sick. Fortunately, he had brought medicine specifically designed to alleviate his symptoms. Wen Ning didn't refuse as long as his master was willing to give it to him. He tried to take it, but his body couldn't handle it. Sensing something was wrong, Wen Ning quickly turned to leave and find an elder. The lovesick Wen Moi wanted to stop his master from leaving again. Finally catching up to his master, he fainted from the exertion. Xiao Tuer's labored breathing and inability to move alarmed Wen Ning. His condition was clearly more serious than a simple illness. He lifted his head and swallowed a mouthful of mud. Cautiously, he circulated his spiritual energy to the unconscious Wen Ning in his arms. If only he were awake, he thought. Left with no other choice, he took Wen Ning's place. At this critical moment, a crowd suddenly appeared, seemingly out of nowhere, and opened the door. As bad luck would have it, they walked in on exactly what they didn't want to see. Hua Qinwu glared resentfully at him, believing he was mimicking Wen Ning. In this situation, Wen Lingyang couldn't explain himself. He was seized. To avenge the humiliated Chen Kai, Hua Qin began to use mind control on him. Never one to yield, Wen Ning stubbornly refused to comply. "I'm saving you," she insisted. "Don't worry." Wen Lingyang knew direct confrontation would only lead to Hua Qin's intensified rage. Hua Qin's prejudiced mind had already concluded that any woman close to Wen Ning was vying for his affection. Hua Qin was unaware that his actions had been witnessed by the arriving Wen Lingyang. Wen Lingyang released the spell on his master. He hadn't expected Hua Qin to be so audacious. Silent and filled with hatred, Hua Qin gritted his teeth. It was the same look Ling Yanggage had given that damned Ali. Wen Ning suddenly spoke to someone behind him. "He hit you 3 times. Then hit him back 3 times. This crossed Wen Ning's bottom line. This master, whom he had always cherished and protected, was now forcing his hand. He hadn't expected his audacious master Ning to have such a delicate side. The gossipy Wen Mingyang finally convinced his master to let him apply medicine. His injured master, shy as a little bird, became embarrassed. Wen Mingyang was curious about the detailed art his master had used on him last night. He wanted to learn. The scene made him think of something else. He suspected his rebellious disciple had truly mastered the art of flirting. But something felt off. Wen Mingyang hoped the dragon god would fall from grace. He seemed to care about something now. Before the unkempt Wen Mingyang could explain, Liu Wu appeared. If it had been Cao Wei, he would have barged in. Arriving at the wrong time, he learned of last night's events. Today, he seemed to be interrupting something important, but breaking the Zhuanming formation was equally crucial. He thought Wen Mingyang was joking when he saw him and Cao Wei each leading their own teams. He finally believed it. Those who were taking advantage of Wen Lingyang knew he had absorbed Yang energy. With chaos in the Yang realm, only Li Suoying was qualified, so the sect leader assigned Zhu Yang to assist him. It meant more work for the capable. Wen Lingyang decided to use this opportunity to stir up trouble in the Tuolu realm. Then he and his master wouldn't have to keep up their charade. Wen Mingyang agreed, stating he had no problem. Early on the 4th day, the little disciple slipped out, telling his injured master to wait for him. He also assured his master he wouldn't get hurt. As if on cue, when Lingyang saw the chaotic Dao Wei Gui on the ground, begging Yusu to save Jiao. He was truly in trouble. Yang Chang, the younger brother of Yusu, suddenly burst in. Unable to withstand the various traps, Dao Wei Gui retreated while Wen Lingyang, also in retreat, refused to leave empty-handed. They discovered a mysterious mirror, seemingly not of this world. Curious, Wen Mingyang reached out to touch it. Then his hot-headed younger brother called out to him. His previous life hadn't ended well. His previous life ended with him being swallowed by the mirror, leaving only a bewildered Cao Wei, who had also been pulled in. He needed to find someone to save Lingyang. Back in the past, when Lingyang was completely unaware that Tai Yi, dressed as the Teng Snake Demon Lord, had returned to this time. Everything she saw made her feel strangely familiar. Inside the banquet, the 2,000 disciples worried about their god. They didn't know how long it would take for him to return after being dragged down from the 9 heavens by the snake. Realizing his identity, when Lingyang was shocked. He seemed to remember something. Back in his past life, when Lingyang recalled everything. The consequences of this life were rooted in the past. Grief washed over him. It all began with the red lotus elixir that the Teng Snake Demon Lord had given him, which greatly increased his power. Of course, the dragon god was no pushover. Before the elixir could take effect, he struck again, defeating the Teng Snake. A golden lotus appeared on his shoulder, completely suppressing the Tang snake, whose cultivation had been boosted by the elixir. As the elixir was neutralized, it bound the Tang snake's body, suppressing him with its explosive power. Knowing he was outmatched, the Tang snake resorted to dirty tricks, biting the dragon god and injecting him with venom. If I can't live, he thought, they'll take him down with me. Thus, both were pulled down from the 9 heavens, landing in the same place. However, when Ling Yang, poisoned, was reduced to a dragon core, his master, who had recovered his memories from centuries ago, deliberately kept him from returning to the heavens, wanting to force him into a mortal life. He had long desired Wen Mingyang, but the Tang snake knew that even if he dragged the dragon god down, he couldn't harm him. Unaware of this, when Ling Yang followed his intuition, searching for his past, the path to the pagoda was filled with terrifying illusions, and the ground beneath him seemed to boil. Yet, all of this was an illusion. Even as an illusion, it was still too frightening. Panicked, the young master ran around, accidentally falling into the lava below. By the time Yusu reacted, it was too late. The boiling lava instantly engulfed them. The fall was an illusion, but the lava was real. Yusu blamed himself for causing an innocent life to be lost. He was about to kill himself when he was informed that the unconscious Wen Lingyang had been found by his disciples. The Wei and Yao armies gathered at the foot of the mountain to discuss the attack. Beset by internal and external troubles, Wen Qianling, who had fallen into Rong Yang's trap, unexpectedly awakened the red lotus power within him. With his memories restored, he understood his past life and how deeply he had been deceived. The Tang Snake Demon Lord, originally aiming to unify the demon and mortal realms, was looked down upon by his uncle. His uncle didn't believe that the Tang Snake, with its Kaiwen origins, could achieve godhood. This fueled the Tang Snake's ambition. This miscalculation had led him into a trap and ruined his future generations. Now understanding everything, he was more determined than ever. He knew exactly what to do next. Step by step, he meticulously tore apart the barrier between the demon and mortal realms. It all started with the Ghost City Lord, Yi Li, who refused to submit to his fiancée, the Tang Snake. The Ghost King, aiming to usurp the Tang Snake, pretended to be subservient. The Tang Snake, however, saw through him and warned him to know his place. They were merely using each other to their advantage in the demon and mortal realms. The Ghost King, Yi Li, lusting after the Tang Snake's fiancée, made his move. The Tang Snake, ascending to the 9th heaven, succeeded in absorbing the essence of the night. When they met today, Yi Li revealed he knew the Tang Snake's true identity. He hadn't exposed him earlier because he was waiting for this moment. Today, Yi Li's problems were particularly striking. He needed to deal with the demon invasion while protecting the Demon Lord's seal. Internally, the former Yao army leader, Tang Shi, fought the Ghost King to protect the newly recovered Wen Lingyang. Such a lively scene couldn't be without the newly awakened Wen Lingyang. He was relieved to see the little disciple safe and sound. However, the demonic aura was difficult to handle. Now aware of his identity, the dragon god approached with concern, but Wen Lingyang pretended not to recognize him. The men fought over a woman. Knowing he meant no harm, Wen Lingyang didn't capture Wen Lini. Even though he knew he was his former Yao army comrade, he let him go. Wen Lini, who had failed to recognize him 3 times, was released. Reuniting with his beloved made Yi Li give up on the Luojiao elixir. He abandoned Shimeng and rushed home to deal with urgent matters. The Qianling sect incident was over. The coveted Luojiao elixir would soon disappear. The Luojiao elixir was only effective because of Wen Ning's formula. Arriving at the Black Bear Cave, Wen Lingyang worried about Yi Li and Shimeng. He didn't want the bear family to be used against him again. He moved the bears to Jiangnan. Still worried about Wen Mingyang, he secretly visited him to check on his injuries. Wen Mingyang, who had never been a source of ease for him, now had him worried. His dragon core was still damaged. Wen Mingyang, who thought he was dreaming, was startled by a familiar warmth. He opened his eyes and saw his little disciple. After 10 years, master and disciple finally reunited. But the restless master, refusing to acknowledge his little disciple, started making a fuss. He even summoned the little grey bear to chase him away. He understood his master's confusion, but being pushed away, and seeing the little grey bear embraced by Ling Yanggij was too much. That was his beloved Ling Yanggij. The little black bear wondered why Ning Ning didn't recognize Ling Yanggij, even though they had met before. He tore off a piece of the sleeve, revealing the familiar mark. Ning Ning's bravado instantly vanished. His unusual behavior stemmed from his fear that his little disciple would resent him for his past actions. He feared for his life. He just wanted to talk to his master, to know how he had been. Hearing his disciple's concern, Wen Mingyang felt much better, and didn't resist his touch. When the Luo Jiao elixir was presented, Wen Mingyang proved his devotion. But his hesitant master worried about what would happen to his little disciple after he consumed the elixir. Wen Mingyang hadn't realized how many times he had been drugged. If it weren't for him, he wouldn't be like this. Now, things had changed. Wen Lingyang, his heart unwavering, knew what Wen Ning wanted. He found Ning Ning adorable, and couldn't resist him. He responded to Ning Ning's silence with action. In a moment of intense passion, Wen Lingyang forced himself upon Wen Ning. Wen Mingyang, caught off guard, became his little disciple's lover. He was shocked that his little disciple would dare to do this. Wen Mingyang immediately swore he had never, and would never desire his master's body. Wen Mingyang panicked. "What nonsense have you been learning?" he demanded. "How dare you call me master? I don't want to be your disciple anymore," Wen Mingyang declared. Wen Mingyang's newly settled heart was thrown into turmoil again. No longer a disciple, would he become an enemy of the Yuan family? Anxious, he felt a sharp pain in his stomach. A stream of blood flowed down his leg. The little black bear rushed to find his mother. They couldn't stay in Siping. Fearing pursuit, they headed for Siting. His master, the former mine chief, had a score to settle with Zun Daofingji. He remembered that small demonic realm, but he wondered what trouble awaited them this time. He suggested they investigate together. Wen Lingyang, guilty and afraid, just wanted to run. He remembered everything. He was afraid of facing his past mistakes. But he couldn't leave his disciple. Wen Lingyang decided to wait for the day. Wen Mingyang was ready to talk. A legend circulated in Siping town. 10 years ago, the Teng snake demon lord wreaked havoc here and kidnapped a handsome young man. Legend had it that the young man, raised by the Teng snake, was destined to die. Now, the child-snatching Teng snake had returned. Wen Ning Ning had only dozed off for a moment when the seal on his dragon core broke, his power surging uncontrollably. Wen Lingyang, the powerful golden serpent, had returned. Huan Chang's profound sensitivity revealed the innocent traces of deep injury inflicted upon Wen Ning's stomach. With great effort, he finally shot an arrow towards a distant mountain. Meanwhile, the person he was to meet tomorrow had already prepared a venomous trap, waiting for Mingyang to fall prey after sunset. His fellow disciples were paralyzed after being exposed to an unknown powder. They froze solid as ice. What were they doing? Preparing to be seasoned and eaten in a soup. Dragging his heavy body, he had no intention of harming anyone, yet they were determined to kill him. It was too difficult. Struggling, he fell into the abyss. As his drugged companions fell with him, he could no longer maintain his original form. With his power fading, he was falling deeper into the abyss. Into what felt like the end of his life. By now, his fellow disciples were weakened and shrunken, cradled safely in Wen Lingyang's hands. As long as he was there, Ming Ming wouldn't be harmed. He was about to leave when he heard a voice. "Divine Lord Wen Lingyang, it's Shijiao. The Heavenly Court has sent people to look for you. Come with me." Seeing the Divine Lord desperately protecting the disciples who once harmed him, Shijiao, worried about the oblivious Divine Lord, decided to take him back immediately. Wen Lingyang had no choice but to resort to a last resort. Distracting Shijiao, he transformed him into a cute, miniature jade pendant. Jade from the Fakui mine. Dropped from the sky. Could it be you? If you run, be careful of being caught and made into someone's wife. The world had become so absurd. It had corrupted the innocent dream god Wuran. He abandoned the small jade pendant and continued to enjoy his earthly pleasures. Breaking through the barrier, they returned to their former sanctuary. Their memories returned, Ning Ning's curse was lifted, and they were no longer the same Kai Wen and Tong Shi. The unconscious Ning Ning gradually recovered under Kai Wen's care. Tong Shi, waking up thirsty, desired Kai Wen. Unhesitatingly, Kai Wen quenched his thirst. He was just like that, being tossed and turned by Tong slapped Wen Lingyang in the face. This was the first time when Lingyang had fought against Tuo and he was unexpectedly no match for him. The gap in their power was shocking. The two quickly distanced themselves. Wen Lingyang reiterated that he didn't want to be Shifa's Tuo anymore. But he couldn't just let Tuo have his way. He undid the seal on Tuo's waist. But he wouldn't let him do whatever he wanted. If Ning Ning wasn't his too, would Ning Ning still treat him this way? He had once harmed him. For self-preservation, he had taken him as his too. Aside from bringing him along, he wouldn't save Tong Shi. Tong Shi had no right to demand anything from him. It doesn't matter. Moreover, this passionate Wen Lingyang was his own creation. He loved Chunyang Alu, the courtesan Xingniao, and even the ugly Xiao Tong. Was that why the dragon god was so indifferent even to Tong Shi's disappearance? Shi Wen couldn't understand why Ming Guang suddenly didn't care about the past. Did he want to stay with Ling Ling forever? Since Shifu only wanted to teach Tuo how to be more flirtatious, if he wasn't happy today, he would learn from the best in the city and make him happy. When Lingyang watched as Huakai chaotically flirted around him. Why was he doing this? Huakai, facing Wen Lingyang's ever-changing lovers, wanted to see how long Wen Lingyang could endure it. Wen Lingyang was already heartbroken, but Wen Lingyang deliberately indulged in pleasure and debauchery in front of her. Wasn't this what Master Lin Ning wanted? Master Lin Ning also wanted Kai Huang Lei. Wen Lingyang, full of resentment, wanted Lin Ning to experience the pain he felt. Wen Lingyang grabbed Shi Wen, claiming he was wrong and should focus on more deserving pursuits. Shi Wen, pretending indifference, wouldn't give in easily. He wanted Wen Lingyang to leave and stop loving him. Wen Lingyang was furious. Wouldn't Shifu listen to him now? Shi Wen said indifferently that he had said he wouldn't be Ling Ling's too, and he meant it. No matter what he said, Wen Lingyang couldn't persuade him. If he wouldn't listen, then he would leave. He didn't want to be his Shifu anymore. This heartless, lustful, and fickle Jianan was exactly the Kai that Yuan Shu had described. The heartbroken Wen Lingyang finally understood Shang Jiao's feelings. He tried to change, but the result was the same. He was truly heartbroken by the dragon god. A drunken Ling Sheng remembered that when old enemies met, their eyes would turn red. Last time, he didn't realize it was him. This time, Hu Yao came to collect on the debt from 1,000 years ago. He came specifically to force Tong Shi to hand over the heart scale. Hu Yao wouldn't believe Tong Shi would comply. He had to strike first and capture Tong Shi to exchange for it. Hu Yao's eyes narrowed as Tong Jun unleashed the red lotus inferno. He excitedly watched, eager to seize the heart scale. Wen Lingyang, wielding the Tangzhong Night Fire, threatened Hu Yao to stop and heal his injuries, and he might spare his life. But Hu Yao, with his own agenda, wasn't fooled. He had already prepared an escape and vanished into thin air with a puff of intoxicating smoke. In a single breath, Tong Sheng collapsed, powerless. Did this tiger use the same trick 1,000 years ago? This 1,000-year-old serpent, disguised as the snake god, had seduced countless people in these three realms. Hu Yao, disguised as Kai Wen, wanted the red lotus inferno within Teng Shi. In the demon realm, where the strong ruled, Hu Yao could only obtain it through intercourse. The weakened Teng Shi saw not a cunning demon, but a gentle and loving Kai Wen, full of irresistible tenderness. A powerful voice warned Hu Yao, "Don't touch him." It was Wen Lingyang. Hu Yao retorted, "Wen Lingyang, has not your wife or Shifu. Don't forget the contract between us. Do you want to risk heavenly punishment by killing the war god?" After regaining Kai Wen, Wen Lingyang wasn't afraid of heavenly punishment. Even if he returned to July, he wouldn't spare him today. Hu Yao knew he couldn't defeat Wen Lingyang. As long as he had July, revenge was just a matter of time. Today, he would retreat. Kai Wen ached for the foolish Ming Ming, who kept calling Lin Lang's name, begging him not to leave. His warm breath fell upon the one who wanted to leave him. This time, it wasn't a fantasy, it was the real Lin Lang. But Kai Wen knew Ming Ming was under a spell. He had to stay calm. Ming Ming whined, calling him a bastard and a dragon egg. Kai Wen looked at the adorable Ming Ming, who complained about how he had forced him to take him as his Shifu, teach him to enjoy life, and now abandoned him, causing him to lose face. Ning Ning complained about this annoying person, but Kai Wen heard the concern and care in his words. Without the barrier, without the bickering, all the conflicts seemed insignificant, bringing them closer. They spent a romantic night together. Ning Ning told him to stay, and he did. They would be a couple in the mortal world, never to part. The next morning, Tong Shi woke up and looked at the sleeping Wen Lingyang. He was shocked to realize he had fallen in love with Kai Wen. He had followed the same path as the previous Teng Shi. Wen Lingyang showed him the marks of last night's passion. As a man, he would take responsibility. Gently holding Ning Ning's hand and kissing it, he tenderly asked Ning Ning to marry him. Knowing Wen Ning Ning's temper, he chased after him to apologize. As long as his wife wasn't angry, he would admit to anything. Wen Lingyang clung to Wen Ning Ning like glue. Wen Ning Ning pushed him away, refusing to let him follow. Wen Lingyang insisted on following his wife. He even offered himself up for a beating. Someone's killing their husband. Help. The familiar scene from their past lives replayed. He couldn't escape his clingy husband. This was their destined fate. Wen Lingyang knew he couldn't escape, but Tongxi worried that the tragedy of their past life would repeat. Perhaps he needed more time to process and accept it. Wen Lingyang watched Wen Ning Ning drink the 100 flowers wine made by his mother. If he made a year's worth of personalized flower wine for his mother, he would agree to marry him. Wen Lingyang, delighted, hugged Wen Ning Ning, overjoyed as if he owned the world. As long as Lingyang didn't regret it, Wang Ming wouldn't either. The future belonged to the future Wang Ming. He hoped that one day, when his memories returned, he wouldn't be in so much pain that he wanted to die, but would embrace and love Lin Yang. Meanwhile, the Wang Ming who had already regained his memories did more than just continue his previous life. Now, Lin Yang was his everything. Wang Ming personally placed his most prized possession on Lin Yang, as a token of their love. The amnesiac Lin Yang, however, thought Wang Ming had only given him an ordinary bracelet, and wanted to return it. Just as he was about to explain, Little Black Bear caught a small, adorable creature, excitedly declaring that dinner was taken care of. The adorable captive, a tiny Kirin with teary eyes, protested vehemently, "I am ordained by heaven to find you. Return me to my true love." The crimson scales of the vermilion dragon, unmoved by the Kirin's pleas, thought, "This unruly child before me is far too frivolous. I shall imprison him and re-educate him before trying again." Little Black Bear always followed Lin Yang's instructions without question. However, the captured Kirin, the reincarnation of the exemplary vermilion dragon god, had never been treated so disrespectfully. Teng Shi, the serpent god, couldn't bear to see such treatment. The vermilion dragon had promised to gather his reverse scales for Teng Shi. He merely needed to bring the Kirin over quickly, who was destined to be his wife. However, their peace was short-lived. When Lingyang's residence was targeted by Hua Qin. More accurately, Hua Qin was manipulated by Yi Li, seeking revenge for a perceived slight. He used a fabricated excuse to request his senior brother to sign a warrant against Wen Lingyang, accusing him of intending to massacre the entire sect. Wen Lingyang couldn't understand. He had done nothing wrong. Why was everyone shouting and condemning him? Thinking of Lingyang, Hua Qin recalled the Ghost City Lord's words. Could it be true? Had the demoness truly captured Lin Yang? Fortunately, he had the soul-manipulating technique taught to him by the Ghost City Lord, which could easily control people's minds. As the bell tolled, Hua Qin's obsession overwhelmed his reason. Lin Yang, don't blame me, he thought. Unguarded, when Lin Yang heard the strange ringing, followed by an intense headache, and a resurgence of murderous intent directed at him, someone informed the emperor that the one who had cursed him was now following Hua Qin. When Lin Yang, caught off guard, was tied up and questioned about stealing the Lujiao manual, escaping from the Hua City Gate, and other fabricated crimes. He had been brought back under the guise of protection, yet they were falsely accusing him of trying to escape. How preposterous! Those determined to convict Wen Lingyang blamed him for the disappearance of the Lujiao manual. Aren't you doing this just to frame Du Ji? They accused. The elders in heated debate, questioned how Wen Lingyang, a rival of the Ghost City Lord, could have progressed so rapidly in power. Nonsense. If not for the Divine Lord's favor. What is that little girl? She's just a pet of the old demon god. The elders, accustomed to absolute authority, dared not make a hasty decision. Someone suggested using the Heaven's Inquiry Mirror to test Wen Lingyang's innocence. If he was innocent, the divine lightning wouldn't harm him. But if he had truly succumbed to demonic influence, the lightning would shatter him. As Wen Lingyang stood before the Heaven's Inquiry Mirror, he reflected on his past decade. He had never harmed anyone. Why did they hate him so much that they would use this against him? Hearing the rumbling thunder, Wen Lingyang panicked. He couldn't die. His Lingyang was still waiting for him. With a surge of power, he roared, "Die! You'll all die!" The summoned divine lightning struck him. The lightning struck him directly. When Wen Lingyang cried out Lin Yang's name, Teng Shi, disregarding everything, charged into the divine lightning. Even so, he was too late. when Ling Yang vanished, leaving behind only cold, shattered fragments. Not even a complete body remained. Heartbroken, Teng Shi couldn't accept this outcome. The prophecy had said Wen Lingyang was the destined divine lord. Had he changed his fate by interfering, leading to Wen Lingyang's death? He blamed everyone present. If not for these so-called righteous sects, things wouldn't have come to this. Teng Shi's grief erupted, unleashing a wave of demonic energy that swept through the entire Heaven's Inquiry area. At that moment, he heard a familiar voice, Teng Shi. It was Wen Lingyang. But as he reached out, he saw Wen Lingyang was different. Wen Lingyang lost his solidity and began to dissipate before his eyes. Qingzong took away a fragment of Wen Lingyang's soul, refusing to let him be completely obliterated by the divine retribution. Some, still unwilling to let Teng Shi go, tried to attack him while he was vulnerable. Xuanfang ordered Hua Qin, still under his influence, to use a forbidden technique on Teng Shi. Hua Qin, still trapped in his obsession, only wanted Lin Yang back. He hadn't meant to truly harm him. Xuanfang's attack, aimed at exploiting Hua Qin's vulnerability, went too far. In a few swift moves, Xuanfang was severely injured, coughing up blood. Xuanfang hadn't expected Hua Qin to retaliate. Hua Qin, realizing he had been manipulated into causing Lin Yang's death, flew into a rage. Wang Ming refused to believe Lin Yang was truly gone. He told himself Lin Yang was resourceful and this might be a trick. He would surely return. Meanwhile, those who had harmed Lin Yang now sought to exploit Wang Ming's power, attempting to strike him with divine lightning. Although the lightning struck, Wang Ming was unharmed. A righteous aura surrounded and protected him. The protective power didn't belong to Wang Ming. He suddenly realized the bracelet Lin Yang had given him was imbued with this protective energy. Looking at the bracelet, he understood Lin Yang had sacrificed himself to the divine lightning to protect him. Fury surged within him. He wouldn't forgive those who had harmed Lin Yang. He mercilessly shattered his enemies, then used his soul-manipulating technique to blame everything on the deceased Xuanfang and Hua Qin. If Hua Qin hadn't used a magical artifact to weaken Wen Lingyang's defenses, he wouldn't have perished. Teng Shi now understood Yi Li had orchestrated everything, manipulating Hua Qin to weaken Wen Lingyang since he couldn't defeat him himself. After the incident at the Heaven's Inquiry Mirror, Wang Ming, having lost Wen Lingyang, withdrew from the world. Mo Shan, ambitious for the Demon Emperor's position, approached Teng Shi, now emotionally unstable, offering him the chance for revenge. Teng Shi, knowing it was impossible, countered that he would consider it for one night, but true revenge would require sustained effort. News of Teng Shi's growing power spread, causing fear and apprehension. Just as Teng Shi's anger festered, Yi Li requested an audience. Teng Shi hadn't sought him out, yet he dared to appear. He wanted to see what tricks Yi Li had up his sleeve. Unfazed, Yi Li addressed Teng Shi as my love, reminding him of their marriage agreement. This man, who had caused Lin Yang's death, now dared to ask Teng Shi for military support. Teng Shi angrily threw the marriage contract at him. Their engagement had been for mutual benefit, and now there was nothing left to discuss. The engagement is off, he declared. Wei Teng's carefully calculated plan made Yi Li wait too long, so he wouldn't understand. Tong Che's dissatisfaction made Yi Li find it laughable. Wasn't Tong Che truly in love? With a hint of boredom mixing into the shared experiences between them. Tong Che now saw Yi Li's past pursuit of Wei Na as nothing more than repeated attempts to alleviate loneliness. Yi Li still owed someone an explanation. He couldn't let go of his hatred for Wen Yeli, who had harmed Lin Yang. Was Lin Yang's purpose in approaching Wen Yeli simply to take revenge? However, Wen Yeli, appearing calm and indifferent, believed anyone who stole his beloved deserved to die. The righteous words spoken by these two hypocrites disgusted Tong Che. Only by personally avenging Lin Yang could he find peace. No matter how fiercely Tong Che attacked, his blows couldn't penetrate Yi Li's defenses, and caused no harm. Tong Che suspected Yi Li's identity. His protective aura was similar to the dragon god's. Who was he, really? Reminded by Tong Che, Yi Li almost forgot his own identity. He grew up under Xian Feng Qianlu's tutelage. If it weren't for his mistakes, now, saying this seemed pointless. Teng Shi's subordinate, Xiao Heizhong, had been captured. And Teng Shi, using Wang Fengying, controlled the entire Shengmo mountain. If Teng Shi didn't obey, he would kill someone every day. Perhaps he could also use the search for Bu Sai. The despicable Yi Li finally revealed his true colors. He had encouraged Teng Shi to rebel against the heavens so that Teng Shi would obtain the Honglian Yu. which would become the poison that facilitated his return to the heavenly court. Listening to Teng Shi, Yi Li found him both intelligent and amusing now. He genuinely wanted to marry Teng Shi and even promised to dissolve his harem for him, dedicating himself solely to Teng Shi. This treacherous scoundrel spouted words he couldn't afford to keep. Yet Teng Shi was helpless, but to listen to Yi Li's arrangements. He planned to marry Teng Shi on August the Mid-Autumn Festival. Everything was unfolding smoothly according to his plan. He meticulously arranged everything, even the wedding clothes. He needed to maintain the demeanor of a savior while managing his emotions and carefully observing Hong Chuji Wei Wen. Yi Li fooled Wen more than 100-fold. Since he was so eager to win Wen over, he would let him have his way. Wen Lingyang returned to the 9 heavens, but he seemed to have lost the memories of his time in the mortal realm. As the esteemed marshal of the 9 heavens, Chongxian's return was naturally a cause for celebration. However, this experience in the mortal realm made Chongxian reluctant to mention Long Shenyin. And Xie Fang, Shui Liaoshin, known for his loose lips, blurted out whatever came to mind. Did he mention his former colleague on the heavenly court? The name, both familiar and foreign, echoed in Long Shen's empty heart. Was it that Teng Shi who defied the heavenly decree, and was punished by him? That Teng Shi. When had the exalted dragon god ever experienced such things? Recalling how the god endured hardships in the mortal realm for Teng Shi, Long Shen refused to relive it. He reminded the god that Teng Shi might have already perished. Besides, on such a joyous occasion, dwelling on Teng Shi was unnecessary. The god, however, wanted to inspect the unrest in the southern regions. In an instant, the god and his small boat were soaring through the sky. Hu Yao, controlling the 7th month, targeted the Yuan family, unaware that they were no longer the same. Seeking the god's power, Hu Yao was only courting death. Hu Yao audaciously questioned him about the contract, Ni Ling, and Teng Shi. What was going on? The god couldn't recall where Ni Ling was, but he didn't believe they were scheming again. He told Wen Lingyang to stop pretending, and that he couldn't hide just by changing his age. The god, unwilling to listen to any more nonsense, cast a silencing spell. The restless Hu Yao was suppressed by the god's overwhelming power in an instant. Hu Yao couldn't accept this. He had cultivated for 1,000 years, yet when Lingyang surpassed him in mere days, Hu Yao had to answer truthfully. He revealed Wen Mingming's identity as the god's master. He recounted Wen Mingming's rebellion against the heavens and subsequent return to Shengmo Mountain to marry Yi Li. The god, wanting to know more, imprisoned Hu Yao and studied the map of Shengmo Mountain. Looking at the imprisoned Hu Yao, he confirmed that Tong Shi was indeed the one who harmed him in his previous life. Determined to bring Wen Mingming back, he prepared to descend to the mortal realm. Determined, the god prepared to descend to the mortal realm with his loyal followers. The god, eager to understand the situation, was about to leave when Shi Jiaquan stopped him. Having learned his lesson, the god would be more cautious this time. Wen Mingming, having lost Lin Yang, forced Teng Shi and Yi Li to marry. She seemed happy and even prepared a grand banquet for them. He wondered if Mingming would be satisfied with the wedding. He arranged. Wen Ning was unwilling to play along with Yi Li. He listened to Yi Li's sweet nothings and promises of a life of travel and adventure, preferring it to returning to the heavens. However, Wen Ning had his own plans. He would agree to anything as long as he saw Yi Li drink the wedding wine with him. The 2 cups of wedding wine revealed Yi Li's deception. He realized Ning Ning couldn't drink. Teng Shi, noticing his deception was discovered, anxiously asked Yi Li if he regretted marrying him. Yi Li understood Ning Ning's meaning. He knew the wine was poisoned, but for Ning Ning's sake, he still drank it. Yi Li revealed to Lin Ning that the poison wouldn't kill him, only put him to sleep for 2 days. Because of Buddha's punishment, Yi Li couldn't die before Lin Ning. Tong Shi's desire to perish with Yi Li intensified. Yi Li understood fate too well. Today's predestined events emboldened him. Everything he did was to make fate his own. If Tong Shi stayed, Yi Li would give him the best in the world. Yi Li's sweet words were deceptive. Believing them would be foolish. He wouldn't hesitate to drug Tong Shi to achieve his goals. The unpredictable Yi Li cradled the drugged Tong Shi. He whispered sweet nothings while his actions betrayed his words. He admitted his initial interest in Tong Shi was for the Hong Lian Yu, but he had genuinely fallen for him. Their passionate night was interrupted by those seeking retribution. It was Long Shen, bringing divine retribution to the deceitful Yi Li, hearing the god's voice, when Ling Ning knew it was Lin Yang. When Ling Ning reached out to Lin Yang, but Yi Li blocked his way. The potent, Poisoned wine, though not fatal, caused him great distress. It didn't resolve anything. Seeing the woman he was about to marry leave with another man, he felt powerless. The stunned god was caught off guard by Lin Yang's sudden embrace. Lin Yang, is it really you? Are you back to marry me? When Ning Ning's suppressed longing poured out. The god was speechless. In both lives, he willingly fell for the same person. In his past life, he foolishly gave his heart and gall. Reborn, he knew they were incompatible, yet he still fell for this snake who toyed with his fate, when Ning Ning's reappearance rescued Teng Shi from Yi Li. But beneath that familiar face was the god who had forgotten him. When Ning Ning's return felt unreal to Tong Shi because he had missed him so much, the unexpected embrace startled the aloof dragon god. Teng Shi, learning that Lin Yang was actually the dragon god, realized that Lin Yang hadn't died but ascended. Lin Yang had stayed for him. He feared the one who wanted his gall. But this woman understood him like no other. The dragon god, grateful to Teng Shi, offered him a place in his palace. Teng Shi, however, misinterpreted his kindness as romantic interest. He felt unworthy, despite Teng Shi's flattery. The god then dropped a bombshell, reminding him of his past apprenticeship. Teng Shi was forced to admit it. If it weren't for his desperation, he wouldn't have taken on such a young disciple. The god questioned what skills he had taught Teng Shi. Teng Shi could list countless useless tricks, but could he admit to teaching him deceit and manipulation? Helpless, he lowered his head. The once proud Yao Jun was now reduced to acting like a spoiled brat. If that shameless brat didn't appreciate his kindness, he wouldn't hesitate to refine him into medicine. Teng Shi had to explain. He claimed he had taken the young dragon god in out of pity. Since they were both pretending, they agreed to part ways. Teng Shi tried to use their shared past to manipulate the god, but the god wasn't interested. He simply asked if there was anything between them, to which Teng Shi firmly denied, claiming he didn't interact with children. Then, he left to cultivate, ending their connection. Despite his harsh words, he didn't want their feelings to be a tool for survival. He hadn't stooped so low yet. These seemingly casual reminiscences were the god testing him. Initially, he thought Teng Shi would exploit their past, even exaggerating to tarnish his reputation, but he didn't. The once arrogant Yao Jun now humbly addressed him as Little Demon. They hadn't forgotten their shared past defying the heavens. He was the only one the god had ever taken as a disciple. How could such a disciple be a mere little demon? The god abandoned the title master and the thought of punishing him. However, fate intervened. He encountered a familiar face. Xianzi, a flower fairy from the heavens who had often helped Lin Yang. Xianzi had brewed by Huan Yang for the dragon god. He wondered if this scoundrel had a past connection with him. The god sent him to clean the library. Tong Shi complained about the dusty books, but the god calmly explained that the books were for Tong Shi to read. Teng Shi was shocked. Was he not going to be released? Cleaning the mountains was one thing, but reading all these books was worse than death. The god had personally arranged this opportunity for him, selecting books that would benefit him. Tong Shi knew he wasn't a good reader, but he couldn't refuse. Besides, his teacher wasn't just for show. Just like that, enemies from past lives now coexisted peacefully. One cleaned, the other studied books, including one titled, Ways to Use Snake Gall. If he wasn't mistaken, there was Bai Huan Yang available in the palace. And because of this Bai Huan Yang, Tong Shi was heartbroken again. This was the wine Lin Yang promised to brew for their wedding. Would she ever drink it again? The god drank the wine, filled with complex emotions. He felt something was unfinished. The god wouldn't tell him the truth, giving vague answers. Tong Shi didn't believe him and suspected he was being used. The dragon god sent his immortals away on various tasks, leaving Tong Shi alone with him. If Tong Shi behaved, he might be released sooner. The god didn't believe his own words, let alone expect Tong Shi to. His actions were for Tong Shi's benefit. The Yi Li within Tong Shi could only be expelled by virtuous immortal energy. The god hoped this mischievous snake could be redeemed. But Tong Shi found the immortal life too bland. He preferred the vibrant emotions of the mortal realm. Was he a prisoner or a son-in-law? The increasingly audacious Tong Shi dared to share a bed with him. Teng Shi's boldness was too much. The god would give him a taste of pain. The god's spiritual power slammed Teng Shi into the ground. Teng Shi longed for intimacy, but was met with violence. The god wouldn't let him off easily. His desire for Teng Shi's gall shifted to other parts of his body. His thoughts manifested. He had thought Teng Shi's gall was his only goal, but now he was unsure how to proceed. This familiar scene reminded him of Wen Ling Yang. This déjà vu emboldened them. Who dared to seduce the god in broad daylight? He should be punished, but on the dragon god's territory, no one dared to interfere. Shi Jiao Zhenren disregarded the dragon god, worried about the god being seduced, but the god reassured him. The dragon god's initial anger subsided. The god sent Tong Shi to brew Bai Huanyang under a false pretense. He wasn't going to harvest his gall, but the Bai Huanyang represented an unresolved regret. Teng Shi lamented that Lin Yang was supposed to brew the wine for their wedding, but now, she was marrying someone else. Only the memory of brewing remained. He grew angrier, convinced the god was seeking revenge. The god, however, was amused by Teng Shi's childish behavior. If you're not a servant, then what are you? The story of the dragon god teaching Teng Shi spread throughout the heavens. Many believed the dragon god was righteous, but seeing him manipulate Teng Shi, they realized he was still the same. To Teng Shi, the god was a manipulative hypocrite. He knew the dragon god's true nature was far more complex than he appeared. The dragon god wanted to tame the rebellious Teng Shi. He would show him what true dragon wrath was. Enemies in the past, rivals in this life. The reborn dragon god had lost Lin Yang's memories, but the Yuan family, no longer their former selves, had already made preparations. They would seize this opportunity. Had forgotten most things, but the fastidious dragon god still couldn't ignore the quirky water sprite. Tong Sheng didn't dwell on it. The god's plight was self-inflicted. Head personally groomed the young dragon, whose impishness persisted even after the dragon god's return. 3 days later, he meticulously prepared the Baihua nectar Tong Sheng loved. The dragon god's gentleness reminded him of a kinder past. The recent hardships, amplified by the elixir, saddened him. He contemplated intensifying his escape plan. Distracted, a celestial guard caught him stealing, giving him a thorough scolding. Even if no one respected him, he was still a medic. Did they truly think they could bully him? The alcohol unleashed Tong Sheng's true nature. He swiftly dealt with the guard. Does a tiger show its stripes only when provoked? Does she think him a house cat? Meanwhile, the dragon god sensed a commotion. Tong Sheng burst through the door, not even pausing when he saw the dragon god. He hadn't changed at all. Tong Sheng was determined to confront him. The smell of alcohol led the dragon god to believe Tong Sheng was drunk. Bowing deeply, Tong Sheng didn't give the dragon god a chance to explain. He demanded to know what the two-faced god wanted. Did he enjoy seeing him suffer? Had been well fed and entertained since returning. But it was meaningless. He accused the dragon god of ingratitude. But the dragon god knew Tong Sheng feared his memories returning. The reason had been brought to the desolate land. Teng Shi's carefully guarded secret was about to be revealed. The dragon god's actions were meant to quell Teng Shi's bloodlust. He was stalling, wanting to leave, but needing a reason. Before Teng Shi could finish, the dragon god accused him of colluding with the ghost lord to escape. Teng Shi didn't explain his selfless act of saving the dragon god, choosing instead to remain the medicine demon of the mortal realm. Unable to communicate, they clashed. The dragon god thought Teng Shi manipulative, not only suggesting a divorce, but also seducing the mortal emperor, refusing to even leave his own domain. Teng Shi felt wronged. He recounted past promises of marriage and intimacy. Now, the dragon god seemed to have forgotten everything. Destined love, destined hearts. After 2 lifetimes, their love rekindled. Teng Shi's slap expressed his pent-up longing. Their love story was complex. He had once offered his life, yet now, had suffered so much in the heavens because of the dragon god. Now, he could finally express his feelings. Even if the slap was born of pain and caprice, it was love. Was the voice beneath the moonlight a sign of their destined reunion? 4 days later, a self-proclaimed great immortal bitten by words appeared in the heavens. The dragon god's calm explanation amused the celestial scholars, but there were more pressing matters. 500 years ago, a mischievous rat gnawed scriptures in Buddha's attic, accidentally starting a fire. As punishment, he was banished to the mortal realm for 500 years. The dragon god wondered when he could finally understand Tong Sheng's inconsistent behavior. The perplexed dragon god could only pretend to understand. The next day, Tong Sheng remembered nothing. Tong Sheng demanded the dragon god take him to the celestial city. Otherwise, who would know? But Teng Shi was always scheming. His unusual obedience hinted at a plan to escape. He agreed to wear the restraining bracelet, but he only obeyed himself. In the celestial city, Teng Shi shared Baihua nectar with the dragon god. Rumors spread about their relationship, fueled by Teng Shi's attentive care for the dragon god. Others whispered about Teng Shi's skills in captivating men. Some dismissed it as gossip, but the elegant Teng Shi captivated many, especially when seen with the usually aloof dragon god. Everyone wanted to know his secret. He was Tong Sheng, yet his subtle differences intrigued them. They almost forgot their purpose. He truly wasn't ordinary. After a chilling silence, the Celestial Emperor began the Celestial Gathering. The Celestial Emperor was surprised by Teng Shi's refined appearance. He hadn't expected the infamous demon lord to be so elegant. But Huoxian, disliking their closeness, deliberately addressed Teng Shi as Sha Shiyu, the once arrogant serpent. Now, he was just a submissive pet. Huoxian's provocation tempted the dragon god to defend Tong Sheng, but his status demanded restraint. He could only offer a meager amount of celestial energy. The Celestial Emperor suggested Xiaoyong demonstrate his skills through a dance. The dragon god objected. Did they think he needed to prove his loyalty? He didn't need anyone to intervene. Skilled in various arts, Teng Shi's mesmerizing dance captivated everyone. The dragon god realized had never truly understood Tong Sheng's captivating allure. Everyone was stunned. The celestial guards praised the dragon god's wisdom, noting his change since Tong Sheng's arrival. Even his drinking had improved. After the dance, the dragon god wondered about Tong Sheng's unusual docility. Was it just to appease the Celestial Emperor? The seemingly welcoming immortals were just waiting for him to make a fool of himself. They were eager to see him reveal his true form and disgrace himself. The dragon god, with his vast tolerance, calmly accepted the endless cups of Baihua nectar. Tong Sheng secretly rejoiced, seeing an opportunity to escape. Soon, the dragon god became intoxicated. Even a god couldn't resist. He pretended to be drunk. He planned to slip away unnoticed, never to be seen again. Lin Yang might be the dragon god's reincarnation, but the dragon god was ultimately a stranger. A day in heaven is a year on earth. The little black bear had grown up, started a family, and had twin daughters. The playful cubs grew up hearing tales of Tong Sheng's legend. Now meeting the legendary figure, they eagerly asked if he had forced their father to have children. Teng Shi was surprised to hear such mature words from such young cubs. He hadn't realized the rumors about the dragon god forcing him had spread throughout the realms. The story claimed the dragon god had kept a broken fang as a token of their love, even transforming the ghost city into a memorial. If Teng Shi hadn't been there, he might have been touched by the fabricated tale. Yi Li's manipulative behavior made Teng Shi want to poison him, but as soon as he arrived, Yi Li captured him. Years had passed, and Teng Shi wondered why Yi Li's eye was injured. The now downtrodden Yi Li seemed fragile. He spoke of being threatened by Kai Wen, forced to live in darkness, watching Kai Wen impersonate him, and being warned that anyone with his face would fall. In love with Teng Shi, Yi Li deliberately said these things to provoke Teng Shi and learn about his relationship with Kai Wen. Teng Shi finally understood he was there to retrieve his fang, and there was no need to explain anything. From now on, they would go their separate ways. Stop pretending. Teng Shi was truly foolish if he believed Yi Li's act. When their eyes met again, Yi Li's sorrowful gaze revealed his desperation. Seeing himself reduced to such a state, Yi Li admitted had used this method to keep the one he loved. Just as Kai Wen had kept him, Yi Li wanted Teng Shi to love him. Head finally kept the one head waited for, albeit through despicable means. He believed Teng Shi would one day truly love him. The magic of love worked its charm. After hearing the dragon's roar, Yi Li remembered everything. But now, it was too late. Heavenly soldiers arrested Teng Shi and took him to the ghost city, now a sanctuary for lost souls seeking peace. The city's lord was the little rat banished from heaven. If he hadn't burned the scriptures, he would be the heavenly dragon emperor alongside the dragon god. The dragon god was furious about Yi Li's deception, and decided to personally visit the ghost city to purify the souls. Arriving during the annual Wangqing festival, he saw children lighting lanterns and fetching water to prevent the city from flooding. They were all lost souls under Yi Li's care. Once they grew up, they could be reborn. The reformed ghost lord prayed for blessings from the heavens. The dragon god hadn't expected Yi Li to protect these souls so devotedly. He finally met the ghost lord's wife and joined them for the lantern lighting ceremony. Teng Shi remembered the promise to marry the one who could brew Baihua nectar. Their love was a cycle of forgetting. This time, it was Teng Shi's turn to forget. The dragon god lamented the cyclical nature of their fate. The dragon god's sorrow made Teng Shi both angry and sympathetic. A glance caused him inexplicable pain. Teng Shi realized the dragon god had been his kind master, teaching him herbal medicine and guiding him. But when would such a master reappear? The dragon god fondly recalled his master's teachings after his rebirth, lessons that prevented him from becoming arrogant. Those seemingly frivolous memories were now cherished. The dragon egg head once rescued had become the revered Kai Wen god. Despite their renewed bond, Tengshi yearned for Yi Li, though his mind insisted he loved the ghost lord. Confused, he tried to remember, but couldn't. The dragon god revealed the 3 words that would restore his memory. But how could he explain Yi Li's sacrifices? Fearing losing him again, Yi Li warned Tengshi not to believe anything Kai Wen said. But Tengshi said he trusted no one. The story of Yi Li and Kai Wen's feud stemmed from their rivalry for Buddha's favor. They should have been honored gods, but Yi Li's mistake led to his banishment and the subsequent conflict between Tengshi and Kai Wen. The manipulated Tengshi began his life of revenge with the young dragon god. But Yi Li hadn't anticipated falling in love with Tengshi. He used underhanded tactics to erase Tengshi's memories, desperate to keep him. But when Tengshi regained his memories, Yi Li knew he couldn't be held against his will. He was unwilling to let him go with Kai Wen. He envied Kai Wen's gentle love, which he couldn't offer. Yi Li's possessiveness prompted Kai Wen to demand his release. 2. Yi Li, burdened by past injustices and the loss of his love, decided to settle his grievances. During the final battle, Wang Chuan's flood breached Yi Li's defenses. To protect the children, they had to stop the flood. Remembering their past kindness, they put aside their feud, uniting against the flood that threatened to engulf Wangqing City. These unyielding men were determined to protect the city from future floods. The surging Wangchuan water was repelled by their combined celestial energy. Murong, their combined efforts successfully held back the flood, but Huaxian, with the Queen Mother's decree, demanded their lives. Confronted by Huaxian, Tengshi understood his feelings for Yi Li. For justice, he intervened, disregarding the consequences. He was never one to stand by idly. Returning to the ghost city, Huaxian, empowered by the Eastern Emperor, was determined to kill Tengshi, leaving him defenseless. But Yi Li wouldn't allow it. He wanted Tengshi to remember him forever. Even if it meant his own demise, he would ensure Tengshi lived. As Yi Li vanished, Tengshi finally understood, hearing his final words. Yi Li told him not to pity him. He was immortal, and this ending was a good one. He had grown numb during his 1,000-year wait. Tengshi, heartbroken, mourned the loss of his love. Their story was nearing its end. The dragon god and Yi Li had saved Wangchuan. Tong Sheng and Yi Li vanished beneath the floodwaters. The dragon god remembered 2 lifetimes and Tong Sheng's name. This time, he wouldn't lose him, even if it meant defying heaven. Witnessing the dragon god's resolve, Tong Sheng was moved. He took responsibility, willing to sacrifice everything for their love. The dragon god refused to let him go again. After the battle, they finally married and had a son. Grateful for their happy ending, heaven rewarded Shi Wen and his girlfriend with swift reincarnation, fulfilling the dragon god's wish. Exhausted, the couple retired to the mortal realm for a peaceful life. 3 years later, Tong Sheng developed a fondness for raising adorable illusions, perhaps finding solace in their innocence. Unaware of Yi Li's sacrifice, Wang Ningling allowed the ghost lord to raise their daughter, Yang Yang, who now lived a blissful life with him.